How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge. From worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Steering wheel. Lawson steering wheel here. Give him steering wheel. Hey, steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to him. Come on. Whoa.
You like my bass? You like it?
How the that's possible?
I'm driving like a grandma. Get that, Ralph? Did you hear me? I'm on radio. Ralph, acknowledge. Now, come on, close it down and kill him. We've got a lunatic on the track down the hangar station. I am so annoyed.
Boys and girls, your attention, please.
Hello and welcome back inside the Park from A for podcast number 918. This is Todd. Oh, is that going to play or not?
No, Todd, not now.
What? I'm starting the year off great, aren't I? Oh my gosh. AKA Negative Camera. You know why I've asked you here.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's exactly what I need you to do. Tonight, for your kind consideration, we are going to cover Formula One news because it's the Christmas special. And for the Christmas special, I have to introduce my guest. You know her, you love her, the lovely, the redoubtable
Grace!
Grace, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, although you haven't even started the new year yet. You're still in the old year.
I know. Well, that's true. Yeah, maybe the soundboard will, straighten itself up for the new year. That'd be nice.
Just reboot it, right? Unplug it, go across it, and plug it back in.
Tech support. Have you unplugged and is the unit plugged in? Yes. Yeah. Yes, I know.
I once at work couldn't get it to read my, my card so I could log in, and I just blew on it like it was an old Nintendo cartridge. And I was glad that there were other people that were in the call that understood that, like, that's what I did. I was like, I don't know why I took it out. I put it back in again. I went, and then it worked. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's still the end of the year, It's,
I mean, I still got stuff to do. Don't get too ahead of me yet, right?
Yeah, right.
2 days left, so.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I know. I'm still, toiling away, job hunting and, oh my gosh. And, struggling to save 3 cents on a length of pipe I just cooped up in this shabby little office. You're right, son. You get yourself an education and you get out of here.
You need those dogs to start earning you some income.
Don't I just?
Yeah, they're pretty. They could be out on the streets doing something.
That's right. Mom, I'm the chairman of the Eats Committee. I got to have plates. Oh, no, Harry, not my good. It's Christmas. It's Christmas time.
Very good.
Been watching It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Have you? What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, Elf, hands down.
Elf? Oh.
Elf.
Yeah. Well, I am a cotton-headed ninny muggins.
Well, I'm just saying. Don't eat that gum you find on the street. It's not a free snack.
Right. What do you think Paul's favorite is?
I don't know. I was going to say, just remember, a peep show isn't what you think it is, right? But what is Paul's favorite?
If you had to guess. Die Hard? No.
I mean, that is a good choice. I do feel that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
I think he's like, maybe he's a Brit. Maybe Love Actually. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, he's an Englishman.
I don't know. I think it would be a nice traditional choice. Kind of like It's a Wonderful Life. Like something as opposed to my choice of Elf, right?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yes, Dave in our audience, he says it's the Park for May Holiday Spectacular tonight. It is. It is. Sort of. It's maybe a little two-parter. We'll have to see how this goes.
All right.
We're going to try to go enlist the help of Paul on the next podcast. But next week, we're planning on, you know how we do this every year. We always take 1 week off. So it's not...
Only time Todd gets off.
It's the only time I get off. So it's not 52 weeks I podcast out of the year. It's 51. And so that would be next Monday. We're going to try to take a break in between Christmas and New Year's to give ourselves a break. And really, to be fair, give you guys a break. You know,
right.
Who wants to hear our talking heads, over the holiday season?
That's right. We'll let it down 1 week and then.
Yeah, we can
pick it back up again in the new year.
Right. So, Grace and I have been spitballing about some fun concepts for the first podcast in the new year. So we're excited about that.
That's right. We'll let you be the judge of how good those concepts are, but we got some ideas percolating for those 10 weeks between now and the start of the season.
I know. So. And we got some really good suggestions from our patrons. So on our Patreon page, I put out, hey, guys, off season, what's some podcast ideas? And there's some really good ideas on that. So.
And some ideas that I thought, whoa, I don't have that kind of smarts. What do you think? Like, this is a great show. I am not the vehicle for this idea, though, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, hey, I'd like to see that podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I don't know
that
that
would be great. We should find somebody that makes that. That's a great idea.
We got to get somebody that knows about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the content creator for you for that one, but some really good ideas.
Well, Grace is, if you're watching our podcast on YouTube, you'll notice that Grace is representing our first topic this evening. She's wearing, for those listening, a Yuki Tsunoda shirt.
Yeah, and it's one that kind of, you buy outside of the racetrack. It's certainly not like official AlphaTauri merch.
That would have been $1,200 if it was AlphaTauri merch.
Well, I mean, actually, Flip bought these shirts before AlphaTauri had Yuki merch. That's why we had to buy the outside of the racetrack merch, right, in the first place, because they didn't have any Yuki merch, and we got to support Yuki.
There's a good chance that whoever actually made that shirt has already been sued or sent a cease and desist letter.
Probably. Although Flip did use, Google Translate or whatever to make sure that the characters actually do spell out Yuki Tsunoda and not some sort of weird obscenity or,
like, I'm cheap.
Yeah, dumb Americans or something like that. Right.
Yeah, it's like some Chinese restaurant dish that you can order or something,
That's right.
Which would be good.
Peking duck. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, you strike me as a cashew chicken person, Grace.
Well.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't eat a lot of Chinese, but Peking duck is delicious.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Do you like combination fried rice?
I mean, it's fried rice. It's hard to go wrong, right?
It sure is.
Anything fried is delicious. I am an American after all, right? If I've learned anything, it's just fry it. It'll be great.
Grace, I think maybe you do owe the listeners an explanation of what happened to your Steelers this week.
I stopped watching it. We went to dinner. And then I just watched more MotoGP racing because it wasn't getting better. You
could have clinched the division.
And we didn't. Yes. And it's not going to go good on Christmas Day either. So I'm just going to watch the Beyonce concert and be fine with it.
I think they'll do well on Christmas Day. Am I playing you on Christmas Day?
That is correct.
Oh my gosh, Christmas Day, my Chiefs play your Steelers. I know. It's a lot to think about, isn't it?
I mean, Danger Russ. I think he's done. This is probably the best option for Danger Russ possible, but I don't know that it's, panning out that great for us.
Yeah, we're barely winning games. I think if the Steelers show up, we're in trouble. So there you go. So, all right, for Formula One who don't watch NFL football around the world.
We only have 3 weeks left. I mean, I'm now I have to make up so much ground because it's back in the old days, it was week 3 and now I'm watching and now we're at week 14 and I'm starting to watch because Formula One has finally ended. But what's happening? I don't know.
The equivalent though is that, everyone knows that listens that Grace is a McLaren fan. I'm a Ferrari. So this Christmas Day, it'd be like McLaren battling Ferrari for us.
Yes.
Yes. So Grace is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm a Chiefs fan.
And is always hoping that McLaren doesn't get in its own way.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and before you accuse either of us of bandwagoning this, she's been a Steelers fan her whole life. And I was born and raised in Kansas City. So I lived through the Todd Blackledge, DeBerg, Bill Kinney era. I suffered as a Chiefs fan for decades. So allow me this.
I'm sure I've told this story before, but we've been doing this for some time. But when Flip and I got married, because Flip is a Ravens fan, right? And so they're competitors, right? And so I had a friend that when they got married, they had they had competing teams. So they picked the Washington football team as their team together as a couple.
Right.
So they wouldn't have that competition. I'm like, I did not live through the Bubby Brister years and, the Neil Donald years. I didn't live through those terrible years to now give up on my team.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
No.
Because then we finally were winning, Super Bowls by the time I met Flip. So I was like, I'm not giving up on them now, right? Like I've lived through my whole life of them being terrible.
Right.
So
it's like Paul and West Ham.
I'm picking a new team.
It's West Ham. It's West Ham or die for Paul.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it.
So.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some Formula One, shall we?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. So the big news this past week, you had to be watching this. This is the big news. First, the announcement came out. Yep. Sergio Perez has been released from Red Bull, or he won't. Now, not released necessarily. I think he is. I think Christian Horner made it quick to point out that he's going to be doing some like presentation runs or something for Red Bull at some events and stuff, but maybe still part of the Red Bull, quote, family, but not the driver for 2025. He is out of that group for 2025.
That is could you imagine, I haven't even let you get into this story. Could you imagine if you were Sergio Perez now? Think about your job. And somebody told you, you don't get to lead this project. We're just going to keep you in the family of this project.
Right.
You did lead it, but not anymore. Like,
that's putting the fun in dysfunctional.
There'd have to be a lot of money in that contract for me to just be part of the family and live with this, right? Like, what do you mean? Am I driving the car? No, I'm part of this family.
If you're Sergio, you'd call her and say, hey, Carlos, could you front me some cash for the next year so I can go get a ride in Le Mans or something?
How about you don't send him a check? How about that?
Right.
How about we find me a team where I get to drive and we give them my money?
Right.
What's this?
Yeah, well, I received a very impassioned defense of Sergio Perez. A person sent me a message, and I really appreciate it. I really did. The email was a nice email. It was, the email was crafted in a way, it was pulled toward, the humanity of Sergio and who he is as a guy, as a driver, as a teammate, what he sacrificed for Max during his time at Red Bull.
Sure.
And I enjoyed it. I totally understand. And I shared a lot of the same opinions about Sergio and what he's done. And then I got to thinking, though, at the end of the day, though, if all of that is true, which it is, I think Sergio is a really good guy.
Yeah.
You can't just ignore the numbers. And at some point, you have to look at the numbers. So I ran a comparative overview of Max Verstappen's performance alongside Sergio. Well, actually, I went back and ran a comparative between Max when he joined Red Bull in 2016 and compared him to all his teammates.
Right.
And I thought that might be interesting just to show the evolution of. Did you see the video going around on social media? It's a video in Monaco with Carlos Sainz shopping.
And they're across the street
and
from
he's
each other.
shopping, and it's like smooth operating, He's like, and they're getting autographs
Max
or whatever.
and Kelly.
And then the camera turns around and goes, dun, 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 Max Verstappen, and he's in the car driving away with Kelly. It's so funny.
It was really funny.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it would be to show the evolution of one M. Verstappen as it goes along. So in 2016, his teammate was Daniel Ricciardo. Max started 17 races that season. Dan had 21. Max had 7 podiums, Dan 8. Max had 204 points to Dan's 256. And that was in 2016. Now, keep in mind, this is back when Max was, knee-high to a go-kart and a youngster here. And just, trying to get his sea legs in Formula One, making a lot of mistakes and unforced errors, if you remember. In 2017, same lineup, both in 20 races, Max 4 podiums, Dan 9. Max 168 points, Dan 200 points. In 2018 is where the worm turned. Max and Dan again. Max 11 podiums, Dan 2 podiums.
Is that really a phrase? The worm turned?
Yeah, the worm is turned. Yes,
all right.
It is. It's like a donkey's leg.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm slipping in my Martin Brundleisms.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking if it was Dune, it would be a very very, very big worm turn.
Not a tight turning radius, as it turns out, with the worms.
Shia LaBeouf, he takes a lot of space. Maybe he can crab walk. Maybe that's how he gets around.
That's right. He might. He who controls the Red Bull controls the universe. Yes. You've got Max Verstappen, 249 points. 1D Ricciardo at 170 points. 2019, Max Verstappen, 9 podiums. Now, remember, he had 2 teammates this year. He had Pierre Gasly at 63 points, Alex Albon at 76 points. Then in 2020... Alexander Albon, he had 11 podiums for Max, 2 podiums for Alex, 214 points for Max, 105 for Alex. Now we get into the Perez era, the Sergio Perez era.
You like my face? You like it?
Apparently they didn't, Sergio. 2021. Max had 18 podiums, 395.5 points. Sergio Perez, 5 podiums, 190 points. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the best year for Sergio, but, okay. In 2022, Max had 17 podiums, Sergio 11. Max 454 points, Sergio 305 points. This is the season Red Bull was expecting out of Sergio, this kind of performance. I would say that this is probably Sergio's high water mark at his time at Red Bull, was 2022. We get into 2023, Max had 19 podiums, Sergio 9 podiums. Max had 425 points, Sergio 285 points. So not a great year in 2023 for Sergio. The wheels starting to fall off, and then this year was just miserable. 16 podiums for Max, 437 points. Sergio just 4 podiums, 156 points. That is a lot of points on the table if you're fighting for the manufacturer's championship. And I think that, as much as anything, irrespective of his personality, his work ethic, whether he's a great guy, whether, all of those things can be true. And still the team, I think, would look at this and say, we won the Drivers' Championship, and we should have won the Manufacturers' Championship, but we didn't. And so it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Before you segued, I was going to speak to, Checo's position in the team, right? Yeah. So I think that, I get the idea that he is likable, right? But that doesn't play into racecraft, if you will, right?
Right.
But it does play into, are they a good fit for the team personality-wise? And are they good for marketing, right? Because that is so much of Formula. I mean, that's probably true of all athletes, but definitely true in Formula One, right? Like, you need somebody that's going to be able to sell your goods. And Red Bull, as I alluded to earlier, needs some of that Carlos Slim money, right? Like, they don't want all of Mexico's a big market, and without Checo, they don't have that market, right?
Right.
So that is absolutely worth something to keep him around. I think I read somewhere it was like $40 million a year to Red Bull is what Checo's worth. Like, it's no chicken scratch. Like, it's a lot, right? So, and I think the thing is that we often use the phrase paid driver when there are marzipan, when there's somebody that's not very good, right? A Maldonado. They're all paid drivers, right? They all bring money to the sport. That's the only reason they're there. And so in that sense, they're all paid drivers, even though we tend to only use that phrase when it's somebody that shouldn't be in Formula One because of their racecraft, if you will, right?
Right.
So I always think that's important when this is talked about, and that is where some of those other things besides his performance in the car really pay out. And especially because Max Verstappen, whether it's just his personality, whether he's Dutch, whether he's good enough that he doesn't have to care, that's not what he wants to do, and the team doesn't make him do it, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's, one of the reasons for sure why Ricciardo was a big, selling point for Red Bull. Ricciardo is the opposite of Max Verstappen when it comes to, like, shaking hands and kissing babies and personality, and that's what, Danny's gotten in, multiple folds, right? That Max doesn't have. And so you're going to get that from Checo. I think that as far as the racing goes, I think this is what often comes up is that I'm going to say there's a bell curve, right? And so every driver likes a car a certain way, but I feel like Max is so far out in the tail of where he likes a car that to bring in any of those other drivers, whether it's Gasly, Albon, or Checo, it's so far out they can't match it, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if it was George that you were building the car for, you could bring in people. Many of the drivers like a car the same way George does, but Max's is just so far out. So, of course, a team builds for their number one driver, but usually it's more in the bell curve, and so you can get more second drivers that kind of can fit into that car. But Max is just like so over here in the tail that this has always been a struggle for Red Bull, that as long as you support Max as your number one driver and that's who you build the car to, it's hard to find a second driver that's going to do well in that car.
I think it's a really good point, Grace, because I was watching the interview with Lawson. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions Craig asked him was about the car. And Liam made the comment that, he's driven that car. And he said, politely, he was saying it's a very aggressive car, very aggressive.
Right.
And that kind of car takes a tremendous amount of commitment and trust in that car. And I think he was saying that's just what Max has in spades. He has total confidence in that car and commitment. And it takes that because the car is so aggressive.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I think this is not a Checo problem. This is a Red Bull problem. And I think as we get further into the next story, I think that comes, it unfolds itself more, that it is not just Checo. It's not about Checo. I think in the same way, McLaren getting rid of Checo wasn't about Checo. That was about McLaren, and that was they did him wrong.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
after only being there for a year. And I think this is Red Bull doing him wrong. And then they just create this narrative around themselves to CYA, right? Like Red Bull's always, oh, well, you know, but here they can't really get rid of Checo, but they don't really want to keep Checo. And that indecision has directly affected this season.
Yeah,
in a way
for
that
sure.
we haven't seen in other years, because in other years they would have just Pierre Gasly'd him and brought in Alex Albon.
Right.
And they couldn't do that with Checo.
There's a lot of money involved. Yeah.
It created a very awkward season, and now he's just part of the family, which just continues to be awkward.
Yeah, it is a little weird. And it's, all the social media memes and jokes, welcoming Liam to the meat grinder. And it had pictures of, Pierre and Alex and Sergio and Daniel and all the people that, effectively got annihilated by Max, his teammates. And, and so one would suggest, well, if it was Liam or Yuki, the same rules apply, Welcome to the crucible of being Max's teammate, right? So despite the sacrifice and the all-around good guy that I think Sergio is, it's the numbers that are hard to ignore. This leads me to the current memes on socials about, as I mentioned, about Liam being, in a pulverizer effectively. And, that it's the big warnings about it's ended several F1 drivers' careers, trying to move into that role. Knowing that Yuki had Liam Lawson covered in quali and a few races as well this year, many argue that this should have been Yuki's seat. And it's a good argument for sure, but Yuki's been in the sport since 2021, so he should, in my opinion, he should have his junior teammates covered, right? I mean, this isn't like it's a big achievement that the guy who's been there for 3 years was able to beat Liam in a quali or in a race. You should. You've been driving this car for 3 years. But other people say, okay, well, yeah, okay, fair enough. But, there is some element to this that he's paid his dues. He's improved the whole time he's been there. He's gotten better. He's paid his dues at Red Bull. He should be called up. And I probably agree with that. Although I would say that the other side of that argument is that Liam is just a rookie. And I would hope Yuki can beat a rookie. Absolutely. But he wasn't beating him by much. And as a rookie, Liam still has a heck of a lot to develop, just as Oscar Piastri did or is. So if you compare Yuki's first season and the first few races in F1 to Liam's, there's not really a difference. You can see, a comparison, and I ran a comparison of the first 11 races because that's what Liam's done, 11 races in Formula One. So if you compare those, you've got Yuki with 11 starts, Liam in his first 11 starts, no podiums for either. The highest, best finish was 6 for Yuki, 9th for Liam. Points scored is 18 for Yuki, 6 for Liam. Points finished 3 for Yuki, 1 for Liam, and retirements 3 for Yuki and just 1 retirement for Liam. So the best qualifying in those first 11 races, 7th for Yuki, 10th for Liam. The average finish was 12th for Yuki and 14th for Liam. So, there's some argument to be made there. While Yuki Tsunoda's first 11 races showed flashes of brilliance with point-scoring performances and strong qualifying results, others would argue that Lawson's debut was marked by solid adaptability and a consistent finishing despite fewer standout results. So there's a lesson or an inference there that can be drawn from that conclusion as to why Lawson got the drive over Yuki. Your guess is as good as mine. I think you have to also consider how the driver works with the team. And let's be honest, Yuki's tirades didn't help him much in the early days. And, I think that kind of goes towards Helmut Marko's comments about the whole situation.
I love that your supporting argument is Helmut Marko. Get out of here. Really?
I'm just reading what Helmut says. Here's what he says about it.
But you're like, Oh, get out of here. Anybody on this anybody who listens to this is like, that's your evidence. Helmut Marko.
Yeah. And
I don't think that's not very good evidence,
Grace,
to support your point.
Here's what he said.
Oh.
Goodbye, good luck, and good riddance.
That's what he said. No,
that's what he needs to do. Good riddance.
Actually, what he did say
6 years ago
is this. He said, in principle, it was a luxury problem. Both would have deserved the promotion. But Lawson may have more room.
Oh, here's that but.
Here's the but.
You're both great. I love you both so much.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'd be privileged to work with either of you. Except,
But Lawson may have more room for improvement in the future. It was his mental strength in particular that tipped the scales in the end. He continued, he's in Japan at the moment, talking about Yuki. He's in Japan at the moment, and I spoke to him on the phone. He was relatively relaxed about the news. I told him that he should continue to step on the gas with Racing Bulls, and then we'll see. He reacted positively, end quote. There you go. It's how it all went down. Yuki's totally fine with it.
Totally accurate accounting of that. I believe every word that Helmut Marko has ever said. I'm sure that's exactly, Yuki would go, yeah, I agree with that. That's exactly my account of that as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was totally fine with it.
I was fine.
He reacted positively.
I'll just keep going with the Racing Bulls.
Yes. Just keep going with the Racing Bulls.
It's fine. It's great.
Yeah. So it's difficult to say when you compare the first 11 races of either. But like I said, I think there's more than one element. And I think, to be honest, I think Helmut is Helmo. I like Helmo.
Helmo, that's it from now on. Good idea. All right, so what's up with Helmo?
I think
It's Helmo's world. Wait, what was the creepy guy in Elmo's world? Oh, that's actually, does that
Rocco?
make that Christian Horner? No, who was the Mr. Hands? Did you ever watch Elmo's World? It's been a few. It's been a
little
few.
too old
Anyway. No, I meant your kids, right? Elmo's World didn't exist when I was a kid, but my nieces watched Elmo's World, right? There's I think it was Mr. Hands, who's super creepy. That could be Christian Horner. It's fine. It's perfect. It's Elmo's World.
Oh, way harsh, Ty. Wow.
It's the Christmas spirit.
Wasn't me? Didn't say that.
Christian Horner, you can write me a letter. I'm fine with that. We will talk. That's fine.
Right. So Helmo says, no, our nickname is Helmut Marko Helmet.
I don't know. Helmo.
So I think what he's saying is that there's a mental strength an issue there with Yuki. I don't know. If I had to, there's a part of me that kind of understands what you're talking about. Listen to his radio tirades and the way he berates the team for 2 years, 3 years.
The only ones that we hear
dude.
because those are the ones that get played.
Yeah, they do, but those shouldn't happen, period. You know? I mean, I understand frustration, but he's in there. I mean, you can't just constantly berate the team.
I don't think he's constantly berating the team.
Well, I think they sat him down and said, hey, young man, either stop that or you can go home. And
that's fine.
And I think he did.
Yeah, and then people keep carrying this narrative because Red Bull keeps carrying this narrative.
That's right.
Because Red Bull's just trying to CYA their way through everything.
That's right.
Who's pushing this narrative? Red Bull is. Why? Because then they can say, well, we didn't want to give Yuki a seat. I told you. See, I told you.
Well, Helmut, he says that there's a mental stability.
He's the one with the mental stability problem. That's probably uncalled for. I don't need a letter about that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Don't send a letter.
I just think that is like, that's like, he doesn't have the dog in him. That's like some sort of weird coach speak for, I don't really know. I just don't like his vibes. He doesn't have the dog in him. What is that?
He doesn't have the dog in him.
He doesn't have the mental stability to be a Red Bull driver. Well, then why are you employing him at all? He's good enough.
He's good enough for Racing Bulls.
Yeah, but not good enough to get promoted to your team. which is the whole point of Racing Bulls. They're your junior, they're your sophomore team, right? They're not your junior team.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to offer up. You know what I'm going to offer?
Controversy.
I'm going to offer some controversy.
All
and
right.
I think Paul would be with me on this. I would have parted ways with Yuki a couple years ago.
I mean, I
At
think
least a year
that's
ago.
fair.
I
think
would have
that
parted ways.
at
Either
this point, you're
he
just
is the thing,
bring him along,
and he's
or
the
he's not.
guy, or he's not. And I
Right.
think he's been there long enough to know if he's going to be or not. And you know, then they brought in Nick DeVries, and that didn't work out.
That was a disaster.
That was horrible. And so, yeah, I would have brought Liam in a year ago, and another teammate. And
I mean, I think regardless of if Yuki is the next Michael Schumacher or not, you know or not.
You know.
You either propose to the person and you marry him or you don't.
Yeah.
Right? Like at some point it's not necessarily about his talent. You're either going to keep him or you're not. So is it Honda that's the reason he's there? Like, why are you keeping Yuki and just dragging him along? Because there's no...
Yeah. And let's be honest, Grace, there's worse things in life than being a Formula One driver for Racing Bulls.
I'm just saying, I can see
It's a
why
hell of a
Yuki
job.
would stay. I don't understand why Red Bull keeps him.
Yeah,
right. Why are you just stringing him along like this? Right.
And now that left one seat open at Racing Bulls.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Right.
And you still didn't pick him.
Well, he's there, Racing Bull. He's there, but his new teammate is Isaac Hadjar.
Oh, yes.
That's Liam's replacement at RB. Now, he is a, what did I put, 2-year-old?
Oh, I was like, is he 12? Is he 21? How?
Folks, I'm looking at
2
my
years old.
notes. I have a typo in here. What is he, 20 years old or whatever he is?
I have no
22,
idea, but
21.
I like 2-year-old.
I left off
Boy,
the
they
second
really-
digit. It just says
They lowered that age.
he's a 2-year-old French. He's a 2-year-old French Algerian driver who's one of the few modern drivers in F1 to reach the top without winning a championship in the junior series. Well, of course he hasn't won. He's 2 years old.
That's a lot of phone books he's going to need to be able to see over the steering wheel.
Oh my gosh. Holy Moses, he's 2 years old and driving Formula One. What's next? I thought
Wow.
Max was too young.
Is he potty trained at 2? I don't know. That might be a...
He's probably
Just be
got
in your suit. It's fine.
He's got those big boy pull-up diapers by now, doesn't he? Yeah, he got pull-ups, I think, by now. You know, he's probably still eating Gerbers now and then, and he's probably a real bear for the Cheerios in a Ziploc bag.
What are those like little like dissolvable wagon wheels, like those little starter food you put kids on, right? Like,
yeah, does he still lay on the boppy? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Isaac. Didn't mean to do that to you.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, but anyway, he is the first one of the few modern drivers in F1 to reach the top without winning a championship in Junior Series. I think that's interesting. He did sit in at the it was a free practice one in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I think
for
so.
Max. I think it was. So so he's driven this car, this spec car, which is good.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah. So. Yeah, sure. It's cool. Welcome. You're 2. You'll do great. I'm sure.
You'd be great.
I'm sure you're lovely. I just feel like, I don't know. I have so many thoughts about this, but all of them are about Red Bull. And it's not really about Liam or Yuki in the sense.
It's just about Christian and Red Bull, isn't it? You really despise them.
I don't. To say I despise them makes it sound like I am the one with like no reason.
Oh, I'm not saying
that's not true.
No. You've
I know
got
that's
plenty
not
of
what you're
reasons.
saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that makes it sound like I'm the irrational one in this discussion. So I don't think that's true. I think they've done more than enough to show that they're the ones with the problem. And that I agree. I mean, I'm a Yuki supporter. Do I think Yuki's the next Michael Schumacher? No, I'm at least slightly realistic about where he should be.
No, but you definitely think he should be an F1, and you think he should have been given the nod to try his hand at being Max's teammate, right?
Yes, because why are you keeping him here? Unless you're hedging your bets, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I could see that if he's a good insurance, right? Let's say Liam crashes and burns, like they felt Pierre Gasly did, whether he did or not, that's not the point.
Right.
In Red Bull's eyes, and you want to bring in somebody else, bring in Yuki, right? You have a good insurance policy that you're bringing in somebody that you're familiar with if you have to bring in somebody mid-season.
Yeah.
Whereas you could be bringing in somebody that is Liam or the 2-year-old, and they don't have as much data, right, to work with. So if I had to bring in somebody mid-season, I could see that strategy, right? Bring in Yuki.
Well, and Yuki, I'm sure he didn't do scorched earth or burn bridges with Helmut, because the reality of it is he's got recent history. Max came in mid-season, Pierre Gasly came in, and then Albon came in mid-season, right? And then Albon's out. Nick DeVries comes in at Racing Bulls. That doesn't work. I mean, Red Bull is not a team that isn't willing to make a change mid-season if things aren't working out. So from Yuki's perspective, it behooves him to stay and be there
again
if he wants a shot at it.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think from Yuki's perspective, but I think Red Bull has a bit of its own bravado issue going on here too, right? Like they didn't prioritize this last season, the WCC, until they started losing it, until it started slipping away. It feels like they were just like, well, it's in the bag. We'll just take this, right? Checo even said to them, hey, you know what? This car has some issues. And they lose Hamilton and yada, yada, yada. And then they got to September and we're like, oh, Checo, we're so sorry. You were right. The car has problems, right? So they've at least admitted that out loud that, maybe Checo, you were on to something and we should have listened to you, right? So they've apologized to him for that. And I think, I guess at the end of the day, all my ranting aside, Red Bull has all the information that you and I don't have, right? This is similar to when we were discussing whether or not the halo should be in the sport.
Yep.
I don't know that, but they do, right? They have the evidence that would be needed to make an actual decision and not just be here for the social media fanboying, if you will. Right? Because of course, that's the joy. Monday, I'm like, yeah, I'm really into this team. And then I'm like, no, I'm really not, right? That's not how you manage a team, right? That's how I, am on social media. Those are two different things, and that's totally fine. So you would hope that they're able to know if Yuki's a good driver or not, or Liam's a good driver or not, using information that I don't have. I'm just running on vibes here.
Right.
I think Danny Ricciardo is funny, right? So let's keep him at Red Bull. That's not why you should keep him at Red Bull. Except they do need somebody that's kind of funny. But we were, the three of us were talking offline about, everybody was all about Calapinto, and he was the greatest thing. And then Williams had some problems, and they were crashing, and Albon was crashing, and so then everybody was sort of like, oh, Calapinto, we're not so hot on him anymore. And it was like, right, but Williams, just like Red Bull, should actually know, if he's good or not,
right.
All I have to go off of is how fast he is compared to his teammate, how much he crashes in comparison to his teammate. And I think in those kind of comparisons, like the one where you were showing of the first 11 for Liam and the first 11 for Yuki, that's holding the car constant. That's holding the environment around them constant.
Yeah, correct.
And that's not true either, right?
No, it's not. You can't compare the 2 years of the car. The car was better in 1 year than it was the other.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the caveats, if you will, or the asterisks or the grain of salt, right? That you can't just say, oh, this year and this year, because it's not the same. And they weren't the same years.
No, I agree.
So
I agree.
I also think this is always yet another thing that's been weird to me about Red Bull is that they have 700 junior drivers, right? They're junior. Red Bull's junior program seems to be huge, right? And I wonder if also this helps to sell that, right? Because you have all these kids that get into the Red Bull racing program. And if you're like, oh, Isaac Hadjar, look, he had no experience and we promoted him. Come, join Red Bull's junior program. You too might get promoted. I mean, that narrowing is so narrow at the top.
Right. It's almost like getting lured by Cobra Kai.
Exactly. That's great. And I just think, like, how
Is
that
Helmut John Kreese? Who's the guy with the ponytail?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that Christian Horner?
I like the idea of Christian Horner with a ponytail. That would
be cool.
Then we would know. Then our stereotype would match, right? Like we'd look at him and we'd know exactly who he is because he's an old guy with a ponytail. That stereotype would match.
Yeah, he needs to wear one of those.
You got to talk to him a little
bit.
One
of those pastel, unstructured pastel leisure suits from Miami Vice with a ponytail.
I like where this is going, man. Christian Horner, please listen to this podcast. Send me your angry letter, and we'll see if we can get you this pastel suit to wear because I think that would be.
And Helmut needs a man bun. Be good for him.
I just think that to me they're always trying to create a narrative, whether it's their narrative around themselves. I feel like we've all worked for that company. Maybe that's a company we work for right now. Who knows, right? But that the management never says anything that helps you be better. You be more efficient. You do your job better. Everything is about their making profit and their CYA, right? So then they just say things like, well, he just didn't have the mental stability to do it. How is that helping anybody? It's not. Stop managing your narrative so much and actually build a car that works. Listen to Sergio when he was right, and then move forward with this program. I just think they're like in this weird narrative, just going down the drain here. And I don't know.
Why?
Red Bull, you just need to get it together and, put Helmo in a corner somewhere.
Yeah, Dave says it's just good insurance to keep Honda happy.
I mean, I get that. I'm not saying that. I think that is probably the only reason he's still there is for Honda, right?
Yeah.
So I just think that, and Honda will pay a lot of money. I mean, the same thing happens in MotoGP, right?
And Japan loves him.
What's not to love, man? But
it's Yuki Tsunoda. How, he's Japanese. Go to, Suzuka. The Japanese fans love him. He's quick.
Yeah, I just don't know that it's going to last forever. And I hope that Yuki finds better patch.
I hope he doesn't get Bottas.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Right, end up at Mercedes again, because now we need the. Speaking of people who need a little PR boost, Mercedes.
Yeah.
I love that their announcement was just like his outline of his mustache and the mullet.
Yeah, that was funny.
What exactly are you hiring for? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
he's your Ricciardo. Got it.
Have you watched the introspective videos of Toto and Lewis walking around all his memorabilia and reflecting on their time together?
Okay, so first of all, I watched the farewell video.
Yeah.
So first of all, if I'm George Russell, I'm there going, fireworks. I better get some fireworks. All my cars, they better be I would just be taking notes for my dance for when it's my yabba dabba doo for when it's my farewell.
Yeah.
This is what I expect. I better get some fireworks. Right?
Yeah.
And then again, as a McLaren fan, they're talking about how Lewis is like, I've done all this because of Mercedes. All right. I get it. It was their engine, but let's bring it back here a notch. Some of that was not because of Mercedes, sir. But they did have a McLaren there, so it was just funny to me that he was just like, I owe it all to you guys, which is what anybody would say in that situation. But I just wanted Ron Dennis to be yelling from the back, hold on, I've got something to say here about this, sir.
Yeah, and it's this guy too.
Are you crazy?
Nikki.
That's right. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Did you watch the Senna movie?
I have not.
Not the biography one from years ago, but the new one on Netflix?
Yeah, I have not.
Okay.
We started watching it and got distracted. Is it good? Have you watched it?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there's So there's a book. Hold on. I have it on my list here. Where'd it go?
This is great for radio. This is good.
Great radio.
Perfect.
People are like, why all the dead air? Well, because...
Why does Todd sound like he's in a tunnel?
Why are you away from the mic? What are you doing? I'm trying to find my book. It's Prost versus Senna.
Okay.
Tom and I were just talking about it the other day, and the author just completely flew out of my head. And I feel like I owe it all to you to tell you who the author is. I should have that readily available, but I don't. Oh, here it is.
All right. We found it.
No, it's
okay.
That's my other awesome book about Alain Prost that you got me.
There you go. I was gonna say it's the other Senna book.
Yeah. No. Anyway, there's a really good book called Prost versus Senna. So every time, not every time, but if you watch the original Senna sort of biography movie done a few years ago, which is really good. It was good. This new one, goes kind of along the same lines, and it's always, where Prost is this maniacal, evil, bad guy, and the antithesis to Senna, and that's I lived through that era and watched all that, and it's not exactly how all that went down.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. So I have I stole this from The Economist, not mine, but they refer to a book as being more like a painting than a picture. So if we talk about, Drive to Survive is more of a painting of a season than a picture of a season.
Yeah.
Where would you put this? Is this more on the Drive to Survive poetic license? That's not exactly how it happened, but it's a better story. It's a painting. Or is it closer to more of a documentary, kind of a photo? Where does it kind of sit?
It's probably the former, I think, because it's, Senna had a pretty, a really nuanced career in life, really, from, a young guy who loved racing and was just had a God-given talent to drive and was just innately incredibly fast and if not the GOAT, one of. But the latter part of his career, he got nuance with his personal lives, and then what he became to the nation of Brazil in general, and how they carried him on their shoulders, and he carried them on his shoulders, and they were. It reminds me a little bit of Ferrari, about how Ferrari and Italy are one, and I've toured unmentionable areas of the Ferrari factory and spoken to a lot of people, not just on a Ferrari tour, but as part of press. And you really do come to understand just how intricately woven Ferrari and the nation of Italy are. And it was very much like that with Senna in Brazil. And, so he's an incredibly nuanced and a complex man in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so I think it was difficult to get all that into this movie. I think they tried their best. I think there's some incontinuities and things that they just kind of had to quickly go over. It would have been a much longer series. But the book I mentioned, Prost versus Senna, is a much better, sort of documentary of that clash. And it, usually it's always, well, Prost is the bad guy, Senna's a good guy. It wasn't really that way. Prost is a 4-time world champion. He is a phenomenal race car driver and was and still is a wonderful guy. And he's not this villain that oftentimes the Senna story, every story needs a villain, and I get it, but he's not the villain necessarily as most of these Senna's documentaries and movies and stuff sort of paint him. Was he competitive and were they, combative with each other? Of course they were, but, give me two champions that aren't in Formula One.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would strongly recommend that book to get a balanced view of that.
Malcolm Foley is the author?
Yes, Malcolm Foley. I'm sorry. Yes, Malcolm Foley. Thank you for looking that up.
I was like,
really good book.
I yell at Flip all the time. I'm like, I don't know. Use your little computer to find out this answer.
Yeah,
right? I
right.
use my big computer to find out the answer to that.
Yeah. So as a stocking stuffer, that's if you know a Formula One fan, you order that one and.
I mean, I think the thing is too is this is a weird statement I feel like I'm about to make, but Senna died. That shapes this narrative.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
I think it would be a different story of the hero-villain side of it if they were both still alive.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I think it would. I really do. And I think it's in some ways, not to be morose, but if Michael didn't have his accident, I think Michael's legacy and everything would be a little different. Everybody knows, Michael, okay, he's the GOAT, asterisk, because he was aggressive and he turned in on Villeneuve and Hill and all that stuff. I think you're right. I think that tragic loss of Ayrton galvanized that bigger than life persona that was him. I'm not saying that was unwarranted or unjustified. He was bigger than life. And I think that was him. And it just seared that in history and in time and in narrative, to your point.
Yes. And that he never, like, we have a continuing story with Alain Prost, right? Alain Prost is an old man now.
Yeah,
we don't have that with Senna, right? Like, I am a different person than who I was 10 years ago, let alone who I was 40 years ago. I was a lot younger. But anyway. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, so Senna would be a different person now as well as if he was then.
Yeah. And he would be such a cool voice in the paddock.
Right.
For a host of reasons.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I was, I obviously thought the world of Senna. He was incredible, and I loved watching him race. There's no doubt about it. I tended to be a Prost fan because when I was a little boy and I got into Formula One, for better or worse, call me weird, whatever reason, I just really was gravitated to Jacques Lafitte, and I liked Jacques Lafitte, and so when he exited Formula One, Prost was the next Frenchman that just sort of, took over, and I really liked Prost, and then he won 4 championships, and he was the professor, and he's an incredible race car driver. And so anyway, and then Senna came, was great, and then as much as you want to say it, I mean, the person that was on the tail of Ayrton Senna when he tragically died was Schumacher. And Senna knew it. He knew it. He knew this was a change of the guard. And I draw that parallel in similar ways, because if you look at the current grid, hopefully Lewis going to Ferrari is a big resurgence for him in his career. If it's not, that change in the guard just happens. It's just time, and time is the enemy in Formula One on more than just time on track, but time in your age and everything else. And eventually those days are over. Prost retired before anything tragic happened, and Senna didn't. Yeah. And so, anyway, not to segue, sorry to get on a segue, but.
No, I mean, I think it's interesting. It is something that has been on our list. So.
Yeah. No, it's worth, it's taken a lot of stick on social media, and it's at a British track with mountains in the background and inconsistency. I get it. You can look past that.
So, and that kind of stuff, to me, that is poetic license, right? Like, that part of Drive to Survive doesn't necessarily bother me. Because, again, we talked about this after Rush. I have a friend who will always go see sports movies with me.
Yeah.
But she never wants to watch sports with me. Because sports are boring. Sports movies are
those
great.
are different.
Right? And so I totally get the idea that, like, everybody's there. And I'm also not the kind of person that... I don't have the memory to be the kind of person to be like, well, in 1978 there weren't those mountains yet. Right? Like, I believe you. Right. There were mountains at Silverstone. Like, they aren't there anymore.
Like,
right?
I'll watch Moneyball, but I wouldn't sit through a season of the A's.
Nobody. No, nobody. Even in Oakland, nobody should do that.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Right.
So, yeah. So I think that, and I think there's a place to be like, it's kind of like that's not what happened in the book. Like the book always has more time to explore things than a movie does. So it's fine to acknowledge, well, that's not how it happened in the book, but I can see this adaptation, or I can see that you had to take, all of this and make it into this thing, and maybe it worked and maybe it didn't.
Yeah.
I think all the comic book movies are a prime example of that. Like Spider-Man has such a compendium of stuff. How do you fit that into a movie, right? Even one storyline.
Yeah, the thing is, if you are a new Formula One fan, the movie will be entertaining, and you'll learn a little bit about Senna, and that's great. If you're an anorak like we are, and you've been around, and I love the actors that got to play other people, like Max Mosley is played by the guy that from Downton Abbey, the butler guy, Mosby or whoever.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some other familiar faces, but the guy that played Frank Williams, and they would have Ron Dennis on the radio telling him, box this left. Ron wouldn't have been on the radio telling him when to box and not, and that kind of stuff. And Frank Williams, they have those characters saying things that are kind of out of character. I'm not saying that the things that they said in the movie that they didn't research and they didn't actually say they may have, but I've just been around Ron and Frank Williams enough to know their mannerisms.
I think this is a thing. So my mom's a nurse, and is my sister, and so I have only ever watched one episode of ER only with them. Yeah. And it was all the doctors would never come to the ambulance bay. What kind of you guys are ruining this. Right. I get it. The doctors do not go to the ambulance bay and get the patient and slam you through the I get it. That's dramatic license. I'm not watching that show ever again with my mom and my sister. That's this, right? There's some part of as an anorak that you're like, that's not what doctors do, Right. Yeah. So it ruins it. And so you just have to kind of know when that matters, because I think it can change. I think, and that's what we're talking to, and Alain Prost isn't a very vocal person about this. I don't know that he could be, he never is like, well, that's not really how that happened.
Right.
But Senna's not here to set the record. And to say, well, that's not really how I want that portrayed. And, there's a little more freedom with that narrative.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. And it's kind of one of those things where, I guess if I was going to argue, if you're newer to Formula One and you didn't see the Senna era and you really would like to know more about Ayrton, I would say the original Senna biography that was done 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
That is definitely the one you want to watch of the two. Yes. Because that one is more of a biography of him and is a little closer to the reality of what happened. This one is just a movie. It was kind of like the one that came out with, what's his face?
I love that actor. He's my favorite.
What's the Ferrari one? The guy that played Enzo in the Star Wars movie.
Adam Driver.
Yeah, what is it? He's the Walmart Keanu Reeves or whoever they call him. But
I've never heard of that. That's great.
Yeah.
The Walmart Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Poor Adam Driver. He has so much crap.
So he played that, and I was so excited to watch that movie, and I watched that movie, and I was like, oh, really? I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, and this Senna movie is kind of in that vein. I wouldn't say it was a massive budget movie, but the acting, for the main guy was fine. And people ripped it to shreds on social. I wouldn't do that. I enjoyed it. I watched it. Just take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is, and that's it. But the biography one, the documentary one, is definitely the one to watch. And that book I said, that's the one to read. Yeah, go ahead.
In the Ferrari movie with Adam Driver, his mother, I love that.
Yeah.
That is like the relationship they had. Was like, the daggers were well placed.
Yeah, for sure.
But It fit the Italian. I mean, I had an Italian grandma, not an Italian mother, but yeah, that stereotype held, right? Like it was just really like the barbs back and forth between the two of them.
Right.
Felt familiar.
So your 2025 grid reads like this now that we've got everybody seated. In a Red Bull, you got Max Verstappen and Liam Lawson. Mercedes got George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Scuderia Ferrari, you got Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton. McLaren, Lando and Oscar. Aston Martin, Fernando and Lance. That's a head scratcher for me. I have no idea. If you are not taking the the Constructors Championship seriously and it doesn't matter to you, then that's a great lineup. Alpine F1 team, you've got Pierre Gasly and Jack Doohan. You've got Williams Racing, Alexander Albon, Carlos Sainz. RB, you've got Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac Hadjar. And Haas, you've got Esteban Ocon and Ali Behrman. And that'll be interesting. Sauber, you got Gabriel Bortoleto and Nico Hülkenberg. So there you go. That's your teams. And that's your drivers.
Yep.
No Joe. No Valtteri.
No Checo.
No Checo.
No K-Mag. No K-Mag. Okay, so I agree with you on the Lance Stroll. Like, I literally, I just had a very lengthy rant about Red Bull. I don't get this.
I don't know, what the hell?
I don't get it.
I don't either.
And the fact that Fernando Alonso is like, oh, I see World Drivers' Championship in him. I need whatever you're smoking, sir. That is not happening. Now, I get it that Fernando, like Lance Stroll is the perfect Alonso clause, right?
Right.
Great for you as a number 2. He's never going to try to challenge you. Maybe that's great for you, but I don't get Lance Stroll. that baffles me. And I don't know how either of them are happy. And we talked about that last week.
We talked about it last week.
I'm also very interested in Haas. Maybe this is it. Maybe Ocon, who has,
I don't know.
His narrative has taken a real hit, right?
It has.
Now, so we've seen Haas improve this season under Komatsu. So I think it'll be interesting to see what him and Ali Behrman have for Haas.
Yeah, maybe Io can calm Oscar down a little bit, get him seated, get him in there leading that team, and really move forward. I hope he can because, Esteban's he's kind of taken it on the chin over the last few years. So
he's got a lot riding on this.
He does.
He does.
I
think of all the people. Yep, I think that I'll stand by that. I think Ocon is the one that has the most to lose at the end of this year.
Yeah, he may because that team could have easily kept K-Mag with Ali Behrman.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Right? Like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So what the team definitely doesn't need is Esteban in, snapping front wings off and getting crazy and punting people at Portier at Monaco. That's not what they need.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think Ocon, this is really a make or break for him because I think the other place where the other people that's important, right? Like Doohan or Behrman or Bortoleto, it's just because we don't know. They're unknown.
Right,
so of course there's some interest. Oh, and Antonelli, of course, right? Kimi, through the roof.
Right.
It's because they're unknowns. There's so many unknowns on this field this year. But Ocon, we have had a relationship with this driver. I think that's really what sticks out to me is what is going to happen to you after this year.
Right.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play, like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Be interesting. All right, let's do some Albin's Cats. What do you got for us, Grace?
All right. So first of all, I want to talk about how, as I alluded to earlier, I am not one to remember things, right? We talked about this on the last podcast and probably every podcast that there's some place in some people's minds that remember these things that I'm like, I don't really know what I ate for lunch today. I do, but not really. So and it all just kind of blends together. So I did want to put out there, though, there is a benefit to that. So MotoGP has been putting out on their, public-facing free YouTube channel random races from different years, and I've been watching them. I recommend this because, if it's free, it is a good race to be watching.
Right.
So as opposed to, I own the MotoGP app, but I could just pick a random, this Australia 2016, let's watch that, right? That may not be a great race. Maybe it is, right? But when it's the free race, it's going to be great. So I recommend. I watched 2018 Assen.
Oh, yeah.
It was excellent. Great race. Set aside an hour of your life. Just watch, because you will not be able to do something else. Don't be trying to knit and watch Assen 2018. Great race, start to finish. Some of them I do remember, like when they start going down the grid, I'm like, oh, this I do remember.
Yeah.
I do remember. Like 2011, what was I watch? Oh, that was Haraf. 2011 Haraf. I'm like, oh, as soon as they shoot the grid, I was like, oh, I remember why they showed this race.
Now you're getting back into Loris Capirossi.
Yeah,
era.
That's right. So sometimes the race, I'm like, I don't remember this race. Oh, I remember this race.
Yeah.
But so give that a watch, set aside some time, and get into the sport. I think my other, you had mentioned earlier about Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari.
Yeah.
And I happen to live with a Lewis Hamilton fan.
Yes, you do.
And I just want to put this out there. This I am not ready for. This has shown up in my house. What is this?
That's awesome.
This is not okay.
That's awesome. I never thought I'd see the day Grace would have Ferrari merch in her house.
I was okay with it. The concept of Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari. I was fine. Yeah, be a Ferrari fan.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I married you. You're the love of my life. This
that's crossing
is
the
not
line.
acceptable.
That's crossing the line,
What
Grace.
is this?
No, that's crossing the line. You
he
can't
gets
have
this
that.
he sits down next to me on the couch and goes, oh, look at my new shirt. What is this? This is not okay.
Yeah.
I think I made some noise like, I don't think I formed any words. This is this in my house. Not okay.
That is hilarious.
Not okay with this. So it's official. Lewis Hamilton, I'm not okay with you being a Ferrari because now I'm going to have to look at this.
Well, tell Flip I said welcome to the bandwagon.
This is not great. There's only going to be more of this.
Yeah.
I was fine with Mercedes wear. I'm not okay.
Yeah. See, the problem is once you get into Ferrari, he's done. He's going to like Ferrari.
No, this is similar to, I'm the primary dinner preparer in this house. And so I'll say to Flip, hey, here are the things you want to have for dinner. And I put them in the order I want them in. They're in my rank order, right? And so he knows that if I put something he really wants, but it's the fifth thing I listed, I really don't want to eat that, right? I really want you to pick in the order that I gave them to you, right? Knowing that you're going to have to eat all these things anyway because that's what we're eating this week. This is going to the back of the closet. This is now fifth on the list.
That's so good. Ferrari.
At least
merch.
he told me he had it before it showed up in the laundry and I found it in his closet.
Right.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like as if we're going to be on divorce court, right? Like, who gave you this? I didn't give you this.
Right.
Did you use our collective money to buy this?
Oh, that's
I'm not okay with that.
great. Well, let it be known, I have a polo that is official McLaren polo that has McLaren on the back and the number 4 for Lando. So
nice.
I actually do have McLaren gear and I do wear it.
That's good. I approve of that. And Flip does too. Flip has a lot of Oscar Piastri. That's his guy, right?
Yeah.
So, but I was
that's
just
Paul's
like,
guy too. Paul likes
this is not okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for
totally
this part
understand.
of Lewis,
That's mentally,
Lewis
it's shocking for a McLaren fan.
and then I know at some point we're going to go somewhere and he's going to wear that.
He's going to wear that.
Like,
yeah.
Can you sit over there?
Yeah.
This reflects badly on me. I don't care if you didn't shower today. That probably also reflects badly on me. But this, not okay.
It's all right. It's Ferrari. All right. You ready for some no shit headlines?
I'm ready.
All right. First one up, Valtteri Bottas returns to Mercedes, confirmed as Finn finally shares what's next. He's going to be the reserve driver over Mercedes. He's coming home, boys.
That's right.
The prodigal son returns home.
I love it. I love that this is the version of Valtteri we get back.
Yes.
Right? Like
the beat up, abused. I wish I never would have went there.
The mullet, the I started a foundation.
Right.
What
the prodigal
what comes
son
next?
returns after all the drinking and a whoring and
That's great. This is what I want. I want this. I want the mustache and the mullet to be what's at Mercedes.
That's all that's left of him. He's been gutted.
I love it. I love it.
Let's see. Next up, FIA president comes under attack from XF1 star. That pisses people off, is what he said. That was DC.
It was like, everything. I mean, I like that there's not a specific event. All of it.
Oh no! It was when he said, when the drivers, the GPDA, George Russell was like, "Hey, we need some transparency about what you're spending the fees on, and you know what you're doing over there, and all that stuff." And MBS said, "Well, you know, they're drivers; they should just concentrate on driving." And he was like,
they love that.
Yeah, they love that.
They love it. Just dribble the ball.
Yeah.
They love that when you tell them.
Shut up and play guitar.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Next up, F1 boss Christian Horner puts year from hell behind him as he collects CBE with wife Jerry by his side. So you got a CBE.
I mean, that's great. I just think that's a weird, like, it's magnetic poetry.
Yeah,
right. Like, we just put some random things next to each other on my refrigerator, and that's what we came back. That's what you came up with.
It is. It's fridge magnet headlines.
I just was like, well, okay, sure. I mean, did he have a year from hell? I guess you won the drivers' championship. Yeah. You almost won the WCC. Almost. I don't know. I think many people would love to have that as their year from hell.
Well, personally, though, I think it was a year from hell.
Well, you can always
losing Adrian
somewhere.
Newey, losing John Wheatley, losing all those people.
Everybody.
Well, and he's got Jos Verstappen constantly, biting his heels, constant every move. It's enough of that.
Nobody wants that.
No, stay home, Jos. Next up, Liam Lawson. My sisters gave up Irish dancing so I could be an F1. And I'm thinking they probably were just giving up Irish dancing whether you're going to be an F1 or not. Let's be honest.
Like, thanks.
Yeah, this isn't Riverdance. You're from New Zealand, for crying out loud.
I mean, it might be fun.
Probably got Irish heritage, or is it Lawson is Scottish? I don't know.
I don't know.
I should know. And finally, Russell never expected GPDA F1 role to get, quote, so political. And I'm thinking, you didn't, George? I mean, you went all Senna and Jean-Marie Balest on him. I mean, you didn't think that MBS would get a little torqued about that? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think they should bring back Alex Wirtz. I miss him. He was great. He was. He's hilarious.
He was.
He was good in that position.
He was.
But yeah, I mean, I guess because I think, too, that if you think your role is more as a diplomat, which I could see, right? Like that you're kind of the voice for the drivers. And that you expect to be listened to, heard out diplomatically,
you would
right?
Think.
And that is not what happened. And so I read when he says political as, I didn't think we'd be treated like children.
That's exactly right.
I thought we'd be treated like all adults. And we're saying to you, from our perspective, we see it this way. And you're saying from your perspective, you see it this way. And the team principals are saying from our perspective, we see it this way. And, the Saudis or Bonnie Raitt say, well, I see it from my perspective. And they all have to come together and make a decision. So that's your role. It's more diplomatic. And I think that he's just kind of like, I didn't think I'd have to deal with such a hot-headed jerk face.
Yeah.
But here we
I think all the drivers are like,
oh, Jesus.
They're like,
I know, right? Oh, I am so over this.
So over this.
This guy.
I know. All right. Well, that does it for this podcast. Hey, I want to personally thank all of our Patreon supporters who have stuck with us all year long and supported us. It means the world to me, and I really do mean that. we couldn't and wouldn't do this podcast without you, and it just wouldn't be possible, financially or otherwise. So anyway, thank you so much for your support and your messages, and for listening. We really appreciate it. Some of you have been listening a long time, and we're very, very grateful. I know I speak on behalf of Grace and Paul and saying thank you very, very much for all you do and all the support you give us on, the website, and the really nice reviews and on our social media and the messages you guys send. And I try to get back to as many as I can. So I really do appreciate that. Love getting your opinion and getting messages from you too. So thank you so much for doing that. And I'm also sure I speak on the behalf of Grace and Paul when I say all three of us wish you the happiest of holiday seasons. If you celebrate Christmas, then Merry Christmas. If it's otherwise a holiday season, Happy Holidays. And all three of us wish you a very, very happy New Year. We're excited to go into 2025 with you. Looking forward to that. And I hope you guys are as well. And thank you so much for being here for us for 2024, and we hope that you've enjoyed us being here for you in 2024. And as I mentioned, next week we'll take a break during that week, and then we will come back in January in the new year in 2025. We'll see if we can wrangle Paul up if he's got time. If not, Grace and I will be back irrespective, and we will be back next week. Grace, a Merry Christmas to you and Merry Christmas. Very Happy New Year. And thank you to you for podcasting and hanging with me. Grace and I have been chatting and podcasting about Formula One since 2005 at our website. It's a long time. People ask, I've been podcasting for 17 years. Over 1,000 episodes. It's kind of amazing. So anyway, thank you. And thanks to your husband for sharing you for all the time that you podcast. And it's wonderful. So until next week, when we come, 2 weeks from now, when we come back to do it all over again, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long, Grace.
See you in 2 weeks.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
I don't feel I've got to prove at all. I don't really want to prove anything. I started as an amateur with no idea or no intention of becoming world champion. I was curious to find out what it was like to drive a car fast, to drive on a certain circuit, to drive a certain type of car.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.